Party on.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey, DragonCon Goes Virtual is happening even as we speak. And tonight on the American Sci-Fi Classics track, we are going to talk about, I'm going to say the best movie. Let's just go ahead and say it's the best movie. Flash Gordon. It's the 40th anniversary of that movie. It's not the 40th anniversary of Flash himself. We'll get to that. But my name is Joe Crowe. I am the co-director of the American Sci-Fi Classics track, and now I want to send it around the horn and let everybody introduce themselves. So one internet I pointed in the wrong direction, right there. One internet to my left. Debbie, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I am New York Times bestselling author Debbie Viguie, and I am a huge Flash Gordon fan. If you were there 5 years ago, you'll remember our Flash Gordon panel where we got everyone to go, Flash, ah! Yes. So in sync. It was a great call and response, and I'm looking forward to tonight.
So when we skipped over Keith because he went kablooey, but he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be back. Next up, my unindicted co-conspirator, Mr. Gary Mitchell.
Greetings. My name is Gary Mitchell, and I am with Joe, the co-director of the American Sci-Fi Classics track. And I remember watching Flash Gordon when it came out, and I am ready to talk about it. I am very sad that we aren't able to do this at DragonCon, because last time we did this, we had a Clytus show up.
Yes.
Clytus
was awesome.
That dude, because he was in full Clytus gear, and it was terrific. And one internet away from Gary, Jonathan.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Williams. I run the award-winning WrestlingWithPopCulture.com. I'm also a set dresser in the Atlanta area, finally getting back to work.
Oh, good.
And I got my very old DVD copy of Flash Gordon signed by the Two Stars when they were at DragonCon 4 years ago, which doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but apparently it was 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Because Facebook memories reminded me.
And 4 years ago, I don't mean to brag, but we also got the co-star of Flash Gordon to be on a panel about Manimal.
Manimal, I remember that.
That's a whole different panel. We'll talk about that later.
But yeah, Flash Gordon has been one of my favorite movies since 40 years ago? So since I was 4.
Wow.
I saw this. Did everybody see it in the theater when it came out?
HBO for me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't remember if I saw it in the theater.
I believe that I saw it on the VHS tape from my local Video Express, spelled with an X, Xpress. That's when I saw it for the first time. And but I watched it a lot. That was a re-rental. Because VHS tapes cost like $85 at that time. And let's reintroduce Keith. How are you, sir?
Well, hopefully I can stay online. I had to reboot the router.
Oh, no. So introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, I'm Keith. I write books and stuff. Most relevant to this particular panel, I also write about pop culture for Tor.com. For the award-winning website Tor.com, I have to say it that way. And one of the many features I've done for the site is 4-color to 35mm, the great superhero movie rewatch, in which I have rewatched every single live-action movie based on a superhero comic book. And in one of the installments, I covered both the 1980 Flash Gordon as well as the pilot for the 2007 TV series.
Ooh,
which was fun.
Yeah. It the movie is still just mind-blowingly neat. Is that a weird?
Yes.
That's what I think of when I think of Flash Gordon.
It's a spectacle, you know?
Yeah.
It's a feast for the eyes. and it's just fun. I mean, you just get caught up in everything that's happening. And it looks so pretty. I mean, it's got an aesthetic that is just, you've never really seen anything like that before or after.
Well, you had seen something like it before. They were going for a very retro look. In fact, one of the things that I really like about it, every other science fiction production at the time was trying to do Star Wars visually. Star Trek the Motion Picture, Battlestar Galactica, Tron, all of it, where everybody was trying to look as cool as Star Wars looked. Flash Gordon was making a conscious effort to look like a 1930s movie serial.
Yeah, and it worked. They weren't trying to be super hip, and in that way, it was hip. It was.
Yes.
Now the addition of the Queen soundtrack though helped a lot.
There is nothing in this world that can't be improved by his Queen soundtrack.
Agreed.
But in the case of Flash Gordon, it wasn't. It was such an integral part of the movie. Unlike, other movies have done that, but I can't really think of any offhand where the music.
Highlander.
Yeah.
Well, was music as big a part of that as it was in Flash Gordon, just because it was Queen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well,
I will just say with Flash Gordon, for years, my friends and I described the Flash Gordon as a 2-hour Queen video. It's integral. It's like you just can't see the movie without hearing that music, and you can't hear the music without seeing, him riding the rocket cycle.
Yep. Right. That driving beat during that whole sequence,
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
I wonder. I feel like I wish that Queen had been in the movie. That would have made it.
Right?
Well, when he said it was a music video, I almost said without. The only difference is no Queen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, that's perfect description.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Freddie Mercury, baby from Mongo. I'm not.
He's a Prince of Mongo.
It makes total sense.
Or the
You can also
Queen.
make him a Prince of the Universe. So
Yeah.
The Queen of Mongo.
Yeah. But there's so much going on in this movie. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I was going to say, getting back to that visual aesthetic, the way the colors just pop, the costuming is all straight out of comic books. Just the Hawkmen alone, or Timothy Dalton in that Robin Hood style outfit. Ming's outfit, and then Clytus. Oh, and what's her name? General Nala.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That. We reserve the black leather strictly for formal occasions.
Yeah. One thing I particularly love about the movie is the supporting cast is so perfectly cast. I don't think anybody will ever be as perfect a Baron as Timothy Dalton or as perfect a Volko as Brian Blessed.
never.
And Max, casting Max von Sydow as Ming is perfect. Ornella Muti was perfect. Everybody was perfect, really, except for the three leads.
What?
I think Keith just started a fight.
I think I did. Yes, I'm sorry.
Where is he?
So Jonathan, you said it was 4 years ago when Sam J. Jones and Melody Anderson were at DragonCon. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
No, it doesn't. But Facebook memory said from 4 years ago.
Yeah,
a few days ago.
Getting to meet them was
Facebook memories don't lie.
Yeah.
I didn't research it too much. I just trusted it.
But yeah, Timothy Dalton. Who knew? I loved him as Prince Bear, and then it turns out, oh wait, now he's James Bond. That
it's not that big a leap, really. I mean,
it's really not.
No,
it's really not.
For that matter, and then later in The Rocketeer, he basically played Errol Flynn.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What,
but yeah, there isn't really a all of those supporting actors. Topol is fantastic.
Mm.
It's just such a tour de force, and one of the things I love about it is everybody in the movie knows exactly what the movie is.
Yes.
And is acting to match.
Yep.
What do you mean what the movie is?
They knew that it was a fun, cheesy sci-fi movie. They weren't taking it too seriously. They knew that this was going to be a fun, over-the-top action piece, and just, nobody was phoning it in. Nobody was there just for the paycheck. Everybody was just like, on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't play it tongue-in-cheek either. I mean, they owned their characters. That always irritates me when you're like, you can tell the actors are kind of rolling their eyes and making fun of their character. Instead, they truly embodied their characters.
I agree with that. I actually, one of the versions that I watched recently, one of the bonus things on it was Alex Ross, the artist, talking about it.
Wow.
He made a comment. He said something to the effect of it's campy in the same way that the Batman TV series was. And I didn't agree with that because I thought the Batman TV series definitely was wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and making fun of itself with all the big pow and, but I feel like Flash Gordon is definitely campy, but they're taking it seriously. And that's something about that makes it stick with you, I think, or at least for me.
You do realize that the screenwriter of the Flash Gordon movie was Lorenzo Semple Jr., who also was one of the main writers on Batman 66.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I wrote the first episode of Adam West Batman. And there's a lot, there are a lot of bits, like, there's one wonderful bit in there where Topol basically resists being mind controlled by having some kind of, making a list in his head or something like that, which is right out of Adam West Batman. That's exactly the sort of thing Adam West Batman used to do to get himself out of stuff, because his mind was so disciplined. And there's other bits and pieces there. I mean, I agree with that statement. There's a lot, and not just because Semple was involved with both. And I don't see that as a failing of either of them. They both don't necessarily take the situation seriously, but they do take all the people involved take their characters seriously. And neither Adam West also never winked at the camera. He played it great. He was being Batman. He was not trying to, pretend he was anything else, or never did the nudge, nudge, wink, wink thing. And it's the same thing that was so wonderful about this. Sam Jones really is acting like how Flash Gordon would act.
Yeah, camp is such a hard line to walk, and so many things that try to do camp deliberately fall on their face because they are winking at the camera. They're going, "Wow, isn't this silly?" And you can't do that and have it be a success.
Yeah, because they didn't set out to make a comedy flick. The whole thing is it was, I think the intent was to just be a blockbuster sci-fi flick, just like a Star Wars, but it's so different. Like y'all were talking about earlier. I mean, it's way different and cooler, and there's just something about the Flash Gordon movie. I wish there were 8 sequels like there are for Star Wars, because then we would start hating it at like Flash Gordon 4. We'd be like, no, I don't want to see.
And it's funny because this version of Flash Gordon is at least partly responsible for Star Wars, because George Lucas wanted to get the rights to Flash Gordon, and he couldn't because Dino De Laurentiis had it. Mm-hmm. So he said, whatever, and he made Star Wars instead. So it kind of worked out for everybody.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of funny that you compared it to Star Wars and say we'd start hating it at Part 4, because somehow I feel like Jar Jar Binks would have fit right in here.
Yeah. See Jar Jar Binks as the Prince of Bongo.
They would have just had there would have been just a chunk of Mongo would have been the Gungan area that
it would have been called the Aquans or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, boo.
That would have been great.
No.
Yeah. Another reason, one of the main reasons I think the movie endures, though, is the fact that comes from that campiness, because it's a lot, again, in the way Batman 66 works. If you watch this movie and you're like 6, 7, 8 years old, it's a fun sci-fi, wow, watch him beat up Mongo and all this. And then when you watch as an adult, you're like, wait, there's a whole other level going on here.
Strange woman. I think she seemed to rather enjoy it.
I think this was the first movie, and of course, I had seen Gene Hackman in Superman by this time, but this was the first movie where I recognized villains are cool. Villains just, Ming the Merciless just takes the scene, and just goes nutso. And that's wonderful. That his whole thing just great.
He's just introduced beautifully. Debbie, you do it wonderfully. The opening lines of the movie.
Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything can you offer me today?
That's everything I need to know about Ming right there.
Yeah,
Exactly. One of the things I loved about it is you had, I as a little girl when I saw this in the theater, just like when I saw Star Wars, and I loved Princess Leia, and she was everything aspirational that a woman could be, but this was so cool because you had two women who were like polar opposite, but they were both so strong and so sexy and so cool, and I was torn because I wanted to be both of them. It's like, how do you be Dale and Princess Aura at the same time? So I always liked that because I thought that it made it interesting because, and then the redemption of the princess. That was always kind of cool to me too because I love a good redemption story.
I wonder. Go to a buddy of mine in the comments. He said, "I bet there were Flash Gordon serial purists who were pissed about the movie," and I don't know if any of them were still alive by the time the movie came out.
Still are.
Yeah, that's. But Flash Gordon, I knew about Flash Gordon just from general nerdiness from reading the comic strips, but I read, because of the movie, lots more Flash Gordon after, and none of it's the same as the movie. And there was the Flash Gordon Filmation cartoon that came on around the same time. And at the time, I thought, well, clearly they're connected. Clearly this is some kind of synergy, but no, it was just two completely different things.
And nobody yet, not even this movie, has come close to capturing the amazing grandeur of Alex Raymond's artwork on the original comic strips.
True.
I'd love to see somebody with the technology available now to give the Peter Jackson treatment to Alex Raymond's or the cinematic universe treatment to Alex Raymond's strips originally, because the visuals in that were so gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous.
In fact, you see them at the beginning of the movie. They over the credits. They used a bunch of artwork at the top of the movie.
I read those, in collections afterward, and the things you can do with newspaper comic strips, that's Flash Gordon. Everything is on the page there, and that stuff is just mind-blowing, and I wanted more of that. The fact that there was only one, of course, as we've all noticed, if there were 7 Flash Gordon movies, we'd be furious at least 4 of them. But
unless Jar Jar Binks was there.
Yeah, sure. But there's something about this singular movie that still is just it's just a ball to watch. Mm-hmm. I remember there was they attempted to reboot, or maybe not reboot. They attempted to do Flash Gordon novels, not novelizations, but there was a Flash Gordon novel that I have no idea who did it, but wasn't like the movie, and I bought the heck out of it, and I thought, yay, this is going to be like the movie. And it was very serious, and it was they tried to make Flash. It didn't work out at all. There's no recapturing this movie. I don't think.
No, I agree with you. I mean, there's something very magical about the way it all came together and the artists involved with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things I do love about it is they really painted that broad picture of adventure on Mongo, where each, the Hawkmen were all, I mean, that's a standout sequence. All the stuff with Timothy Dalton's people in the swamps and the forest. I mean, they really made this wild, crazy planet. And, it was hyper real. It wasn't realistic, but it was, okay, yeah, this is a real place in this movie.
I don't know how they. I want to know. I want to talk about the costumes. I want to talk about the crazy set designs. I want to talk about how they got 36 people in gold hawk costumes. That's amazing.
Without CGI.
Yeah.
There's no. Yeah, they didn't do any of that mess back then. They had to. They were like, oh crap, we're going to have to actually go to an alien planet. I don't see how we're going to do this in real life. But talk for a minute about how great Brian Blessed is.
The Blessed Brian, he's amazing. And I think one of the things that makes it so cool is he looks. I mean, the costume they have on him. I mean, even today, when I look at it, I believe he's got wings growing out of his back. It just looks, I mean, it doesn't look fake. It looks very natural the way they did that. And it just, and of course he brings such a joy, of living to the part, where you sit there going, my gosh, that'd be a fascinating person to have dinner with, just
make sure it's in a very large room with good acoustics.
Yes. Exactly.
And nobody does the square mouthed laugh like Brian Blessed,
Yes.
Yeah. And just, I love the little touches. Like, there's the one fight that's going on, and he's standing on the edge of it, and he's just like, bonk. The guy goes by.
Oh yeah, that was the football thing, which is one of my favorite of the Queen songs. Is that probably because I still have the 7-inch record that had the Flash Gordon theme on one side and the football song on the other side. So I heard those two more than the rest of the soundtrack growing up. But that scene's always been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I've lost my train of thought. Oh no, this is terrible.
That never happens.
Yeah,
I know.
Somebody was asking in the comments why there wasn't a sequel, and unfortunately, it was just that it wasn't that it bombed. Sam Jones and Dino De Laurentiis had a falling out, and apparently they couldn't recast, and they didn't feel they could recast, and so it just never came together.
Oh man, the Brian Blessed thing. I have a Brian Blessed adjacent story.
Oh.
Okay. The first year that Gary and I were in charge of the classic track, I said, you know what? Let's just go for it and just see what happens. I ended up talking to, in email, the manager of it was the Ghostbusters anniversary one year, and I ended up talking to like the manager of the Bus Boys. I wanted to get the Bus Boys to Dragon Con. I was just trying whatever. And I found contact info for Brian Blessed's manager. And now at the same time, I exchanged email with Melody Anderson. She was the sweetest. And eventually she got down here to Dragon Con, but I got Brian Blessed's manager, and we did and I sent him, all the stuff about Dragon Con, and he said, "Yeah, I wish I had kept the email now, but the email he wrote me back, and he said, you do understand that Mr. Blessed lives in England, and he would have to be paid to fly to Atlanta, Georgia. I can only imagine this is how he sounds. And he tore me a new one for the audacity of trying to get Brian Blessed to come to the little convention and to talk about Voltan. And that was the best. And so I wrote him back and said, thank you. That was it. But no, Brian Blessed hasn't come yet, but that was a delight. That was I've never been yelled at, and there were no capital letters in the yelling in the email. It was just big words. I got my butt handed to me in that, but it felt good. I felt like it was a compliment in a way. The audacity. The audacity to try to get Brian Blessed. But one day, maybe one day.
Next
when
year.
he gets a new manager.
Yeah. So, Debbie, what is your favorite thing from the movie? If you had to pick one particular thing, what's the part that you love the most?
Oh, that is really, really hard. I'm gonna say it's the football scene though, because it was so iconic, and he was winning. You know, I mean, he was taking on all those guys and winning, and you could actually see him pulling people over to his side. And when we had Melody Anderson out 4 years ago, it was awesome because they were talking about how they actually came up with that whole scene, you know, her and Sam Jones. And she was like, well, if he's going to be playing football, I've got to be the cheerleader. And she just did it. And I'm like, that's genius, you know, because go, Flash, go, you know, and it just really set the tone for the rest of the movie, I thought.
How about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, that is a hard question. Is it favorite scene or just favorite
scene?
Thing about the
favorite
movie?
bit from the movie?
Well, I like the football scene a lot. I like all the weird eroticism that I didn't, at least not on a conscious level, I don't think I picked up on as much until I got a little older. But the whole dynamic between Flash and the princess and what's her name, Dale Arden, and how he's tempted, and he even thinks it when he's thinking to Dale, and being seduced by the girl who's telling him how to communicate with her that way. But he never succumbs to it, and then the two of them end up fighting, and then sort of make the two girls, they have that little scuffle, and then they realize, like, but we actually kind of want the same thing, and that's part of the redemption story that Debbie mentioned earlier. That's like the beginning of the redemption. So I guess, I know that's not one scene, but I think as far as my most recent rewatching, that kind of stuck out more so than it ever has before.
Cool. Keith?
Besides every single moment that Brian Blessed is on screen, and I love the fight with him between Flash and Baron on the tilting platform with the spikes.
Yeah.
That's just epic. But I also want to give, I think one of my favorite thing when I was rewatching it recently for the for my Tor.com article was the Peter Wingard as Clytus. I had forgotten how, because I mean we all remember Brian Blessed and his big laugh and Timothy Dalton in his Robin Hood outfit and Sam Jones as the only talented quarterback in New York Jets history. I'm from New York. I can say that.
Sick burn.
We'll give you a good name, but and everything else. But Peter Wingard's deadpan snark is just absolutely magnificent throughout the whole thing. And his acid commentary proceedings is just so delightful.
No, I agree. There's there's why is he even there? He's the vizier, I guess. He's certainly not the toady. He's not some stooge.
He's just Ming's right hand.
Yeah, but he's the guy who does all the work. I mean, Ming wants something done. He's the guy who goes out and do it. He's Ming's fixer.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's his consigliere.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like Ming's going to go out and torture people. That's beneath his notice.
Certainly. No.
Yeah,
He's Ming. He ain't got time for that.
Exactly.
He's the big picture guy.
He's the idea man, not the. I'm the concept. Ming's the concept guy. Everybody else has to execute.
Literally.
Literally. Yeah.
I do have to say, in thinking about it, one of the ones, I mean, the whole movie is fantastic, and it's just so many different scenes that are brilliant, you know. But I think the one that had the biggest impact on me at the time I saw it was Baron and Flash and the Tree Beast.
Oh, yeah.
And the challenge where they're putting their hands down into the logs, you know, seeing who's going to get, you know, the Russian roulette of who's going to get bitten and die first. Because that was so terrifying when I was little. Because, you know, you could see the beast and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, what's going to happen? But I loved that Flash faked him out.
Yes.
Because Flash was totally brave and totally willing to play the game until Baron cheated and, you know, stopped playing and just kept forcing Flash to go. And at which point Flash is like, okay, if we're not playing fair, we're not playing fair.
Right.
You know, I love that.
As somebody who grew up close to the woods, sticking your hand in a stump was a very strong threat for me. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't ever do that. But yeah, that was a very real, terrifying thing. Of course, I made my little brother do it after.
Oh my gosh.
But
Because you were that older brother, yes.
Yeah, heck yeah.
We're going to call you Baron now.
I was.
Yeah, the kid loving Clytus because he looked so cool. He was obvious even to me as a kid that he was basically, they were doing a riff on Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You know, but it's beautiful. It's a great costume. It's a great mask, and he gets that wonderful death where his eyes pop out.
There is there's a I wish there had been cheesy action figures.
Mm.
Yes.
That I think is my biggest regret from Flash Gordon. I remember, I think for one Christmas, I got Flash Gordon figures from the Sears catalog that were based on the cartoon. And those are fine, but there's no Hawkman. There was no Voltan in those.
Were those Defenders of the Earth?
Oh, that was later. Yeah, that was years later. And oh heck yeah, the Defenders of the Earth was that was one of my favorite things in the world. But yeah, and they killed Dale Arden in episode 1 of Defenders of the Earth. But
spoiler alert.
Oops, sorry. For 25 years.
Well, that's ruined for me now. God.
Ruined forever. But yeah, I wanted all the things. Now in the recent years, people our age have made Flash Gordon toys because if I could, I would have done it myself. But I've got some of them and they're great. But it's not the same. I wanted them when I was 10. But it's okay. I'll be all right. But I think my favorite thing about my favorite scene is the rocket sled. Oh my God.
Flying blind on a rocket cycle.
Because they somehow, when Barry Bostwick did it in Megaforce, it wasn't as cool as it's kind of the same thing, and yet Flash pulls it off, but Barry Bostwick didn't quite. I don't know.
Sam Jones' mullet was better.
There's that.
But so Gary, what's your favorite scene?
Yeah.
It's
you started this.
My favorite, the bit that's always stuck with me in my head is when they escape when Dr. Zarkov is escaping. He's like, I knew it was one of the prime numbers of the Zeta code. I just love everything about his performance, though. I mean, he is just, again, somebody he knew exactly what he was in. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he's obviously having such a great time. It's just infectious.
I think everybody appears to be having a great time. I don't know how great a time they were having, but it seems like that they were just having a ball. And sometimes, yeah, you're right. It is when sometimes it is infectious. Where you see that this is just crazy stuff, and they're just going for it. Especially, I think who was, if you had to pick one character, let's go around the horn and do that.
Our favorite character.
Say what?
Our favorite character from the whole movie?
Yeah. Mine is Ming, because, oh my gosh. Just as I said earlier, I think I said earlier, he just, every single scene, he was just like, every scene was all about, and of course, Ming's costumes were like Liberace times 1,000, times 1,000,000. And still evil. Usually a guy who dresses that nicely, you're like, well, I could see his good points. But no, Ming's still awful. You're like, man, with a fashion sense like that, surely. But no, he's a bad person. But so, Debbie, favorite character?
Oh, it's a cliche, but it's Flash. But I love how sincere he is. I love the fact that he's actually a true, white hat. He's a good guy through and through, and there's no doubting it. And he's got that kind of can-do spirit where you're like, he feels like a pioneer in many ways, and in some ways he is. He is the new pioneer. He's the new the new spirit going out into the new place and saying, you know what, I don't care how hard it is. I don't care what the obstacles are. I'm still going to overcome, and it's going to be okay. And I found that spirit so reassuring. And I love the fact that he was able to turn his enemies into allies for the most part. And I also love the fact that no matter how pretty Princess Aura was or how much she came on to him, he was totally true to Dale. I thought that was fantastic, and he just was, he was good through and through. And, at the end of the day, that still appeals to me. It appealed to me when I was a little girl and still appeals to me as a grown woman.
I think, yeah, a lot of the time you got to have a lot of people want nuance or, multiple facets in a character, but Flash is just the one thing.
Yeah.
But he's so good at it.
Yeah, if you're going to be one thing, you've got to be the embodiment of that one thing. And Flash is so good and so courageous and so bold and so, optimistic that he can do this. You can't help but think, my gosh, someone with that much confidence and that much, purity of heart, by golly, if anyone can, he can.
By golly, that's perfect.
He'll save every one of us.
Yeah.
He'll save every one of us, and I believe it,
Well, and you pointed out that's when he's winning everybody over in the football scene just because he's good.
Yeah.
I really like there was a few lines throughout the movie, especially towards the end, where the characters from this world who are not all bad, but there's a lot of redemption stories there for pretty much everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They start off kind of like bad guys, and then he wins them over, and then they become allies. But there's a lot of things like that Earth must be a really good place, or humans are very special creatures, or something like that.
Yeah.
If they can only come here and find out.
Yeah. we haven't seen what happens when they get here, but Gary.
It's to a shock to nobody. It's Prince Voltan. I mean, he's Brian Blessed. He's boisterous. He's over the top. I can't think of this movie without thinking of him screaming, "Hawkman, dive!" He in a movie full of scene-stealing performances, he steals it.
And he's the reason for the name of this panel.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good.
Gordon's alive.
Just the awesomeness of and like you said, he's not the only one. Jonathan.
Well, I would have said Ming, but you already took that one. So let me think about this. I like a lot of the supporting cast, like we mentioned. Isn't that Baron's like sidekick? Isn't that the guy that played Riff Raff in the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
No way.
Well, he's a pretty good character because he's the one that helps Flash escape and all that.
Well, it turns out he was a double agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of back and forth with a lot of those characters. I guess for obvious reasons, I'll say Princess Aura.
She had the best clothes.
Yeah.
No, how dare you? Ming had the best clothes.
Aura had the best clothes.
I would say in her defense, she had the best women's clothes, but you could argue Ming had the best women's clothes too.
It ran in the family. Good taste.
That's right. The whole family. Keith.
I don't care if Gary already said it. I'm saying Voltan. Because Brian Blessed, and also I love the character. He unlike say Baron, who kind of is a creep. Voltan really does want to rebel against Ming. He just doesn't think it's really a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we see him. You know, we were mentioning before about how he was surreptitiously bonking people on the head during the football scene. He would love to rebel, but he's got his kingdom to think about, and he doesn't want to take the risk of losing what he has. Flash gives him at least the hope to finally do that, but the thing is, his heart is always in the right place. He just needs, and also, one of the reasons why Ming has been successful, and this is true in all the versions of Flash Gordon, is divide and conquer. Yeah, keeping everybody set against each other, and Flash Gordon's job in the storyline is to bring everybody together. And like I said, one of the things I like particularly about Voltan is that he's mentally already there in terms of wanting to rebel against Ming. He just needs a better incentive.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's the biggest thing, and that's why Ming is a genius, is that he does play the faction game incredibly well. And that's the whole reason nobody's going to oppose him, because the second he's like, well, if you go against me, I'm going to have all these other people go against you.
Yeah. The one I felt, the one of the minor characters that I find very compelling, and I'm blanking on his name, but it's the prince who gets killed in the beginning who tries to kill Ming, because he knows he's not going to make it through this, but he's also the one who's going to stand up and say, let this be an example for all the people of Mongo. He's the first one that's truly trying to unite everyone, even before Flash is, and he died. Very expectedly, but at least he was trying. He knew what had to be done in order to, free all of Mongo.
For anybody who, as we're kind of heading into the final minutes, for anybody whose only encounter with Flash Gordon is this movie, what about the other Flash Gordon stuff that they should go look for? We touched on the Alex Raymond comic strips.
Obviously, yeah.
Go right now.
Yeah.
Find it now.
There are some great hardback book versions, collections of that that I have a couple of. I think there's a few more.
Yeah, it's gorgeous art. It's great pulpy storytelling. of science fiction of the time. I actually am kind of partial to the old black and white adventure serials. I watched those as a kid on Saturday mornings. My local UHF channel would run like 3 or 4 at a time to kill time. And to quote Rocky Horror, Flash Gordon was there in silver underwear, but they were fun. There was just something about them. I will not recommend the Sci-Fi Channel series, though. I don't care for that at all.
Even though Sam Jones does make a cameo in that.
He does. And the Sci-Fi Channel series actually got much better toward the end of the first season, but by then nobody cared.
Yeah.
But it had bits and pieces of it that could have made for a good Flash Gordon show. But by the time they figured out and the biggest problem was they spent far too much time going back and forth, going back to Earth. Nobody's watching a Flash Gordon TV show to watch a suburb that looks just like Vancouver. They once the show committed itself to staying on Mongo, it got so much better.
Well,
and they actually did some interesting things with it. Particularly the development of Princess Aura really was very convincing. Like, she started out pretty much the same as Ornella Muti's version, but she actually developed really nicely over the course of the series. But like I said, by the time they figured it out, they had pretty much lost all their viewership. Also, the special effects were terrible.
Really, yeah.
I was writing up the episode descriptions for Sci-Fi's website at the time, so I got the screeners ahead of time before all the special effects were put in. Ooh. And it actually looked better before the special effects were put in. That's how bad it was.
I believe it.
And it's funny because like the movie that we're talking about had a huge budget, but they deliberately made it look cheap. Like they made it look like an old movie serial. And the 2007 show wanted to look better, but they didn't have the budget for it. I really hope someday we get a Flash Gordon that actually like wants to look good.
Yeah. I remember when the series came out that they were able to use like a snippet of the Queen soundtrack in the commercials, and everybody went, ah! But then I also remember a article on the Sci-Fi Channel where they apologized and explained how they couldn't use the music in the show.
It was terrible. The commercials were better than the show because of that.
Yeah.
The music rights are expensive.
Yeah. And so that was like a whole article, as I recall, was, hey, we're sorry, guys. There were Hawkmen on the live action show, and
sort of
they didn't have wings, as I recall. They had no wings, and
because they couldn't make it work on their budget.
Yeah. And there was no space travel, but they did like Stargates. They went boom, and now we're back on Earth.
Yeah.
And again, why Earth? Exactly. I didn't want to be on Earth.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I was fine with the idea of portals that would actually bring them to Mongo, but it was the commuting that was the issue.
The commuting, yeah.
Commuting is never fun.
It's not. It's really not.
The presumed next version we're going to see, Taika Waititi was announced as developing an animated Flash Gordon movie.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm not sure what stage that's in right now. Plus, I don't know what effect the pandemic has had on it. Although animation takes longer, but it's also animation is something you can do in isolation. So,
I had not heard that. That would be amazing.
As of a year ago, that was in development. I don't know what the that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The Filmation TV series is also good.
Yes.
Because it's Filmation, the backgrounds were really pretty and they never moved.
Yeah.
Great. Exactly. But the Mongo stuff on those episodes were it was beautiful, and I loved Thun the Lion Man for some reason. I think I had his action figure. I think that's who I had from the Sears catalog. But yeah, I dug that show. And one of the guys in our comments, there was a Flash Gordon comic series.
Yes.
By Dan
Durden did. Yeah, that actually wasn't bad.
Because it was modern-ish.
Yeah. No, it was modern. It was contemporary with the time. Flash Gordon was a contemporary basketball player.
That's right. Yeah. It wasn't set like in the 30s or in. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I dug that. I think I still have it. But that was interesting and good. Because I embraced all such things. I love the Defenders of the Earth cartoon.
Yeah.
Because toys and theme music by and Stan Lee wrote the theme song, for goodness sake.
Of course he did.
So yeah, that's good stuff. But they're I wish there had been more of this, but what we got still pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And Arrow Video just put out a lovely 4K edition of the movie. So
with lots of bonus stuff.
Ooh, bonus stuff.
Yeah, Arrow Video does really good physical home copies of stuff.
I believe the version, the most recent version I have is the Alex Ross artwork DVD set, and that dude, I mean, he loves him some Flash Gordon.
Yep. There's also a Blu-ray set of Ted 2, and Flash Gordon, all which I didn't understand because I hadn't seen Ted until after they were at Dragon Con a few years ago, because Sam Jones mentioned it, I think, in one of his panels or something. Yeah. And I was like, why is he talking about Ted? And then I went back and figured it out.
For whatever. Go ahead.
Interesting bit of trivia. Sam Jones, for one thing, he was on an episode of Stargate SG-1 in which he was brilliant. He was absolutely hilarious, playing a bounty hunter. But he also played the Spirit.
Oh,
in a 1987 TV movie. Yes. He was the Spirit opposite Nana Visitor from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. As what's her name? Dole. Yeah.
Yeah, the girl.
Yeah. The Commissioner's daughter. And he was actually, I mean, he was physically perfect for the Spirit. The movie itself was terrible. But
yeah. I remember him, much like the Spirit, he gets beat up terrifically in the Spirit TV, the Spirit movie.
Yes, that aspect, they did capture that particular aspect of the Spirit.
He was not a superhuman guy. No. But no, Sam J. Jones, as I even found the Highwayman TV show with him and Jacko, and it's Sam Jones, Jacko, and an 18-wheeler, and it seems like something I would love, and I've decided that I do, but. But guys, let's go around the horn and everybody tell people where you can be found on the interwebs. Debbie.
DebbieViguie.com, DebbieViguie.com. Also Twitter, author Debbie Viguie, and Facebook, Debbie Viguie Book Club.
Read her mysteries; they're great.
Thank you so much. And I have a new spy thriller that's just coming out this month. Spy Games, My Brother's Keeper.
Okay.
Neat. Cool. Gary.
You can find me here on the Twitters at Gary Mitchell, and you can find my ramblings about what physical media is coming out on revolutionsf.com, slip discs. And you can find me where you found me right now on the Classics track on our YouTube.
We're here. Yeah.
Our Facebook.
You're already there. And
you made it. Jonathan.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Wrestlingwithpopculture.com, which has been kind of inactive, but I'm rebooting it, sort of, putting some new content up soon. That's also on all social medias, Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter it's at WrestlePop CULTR.
Nice.
And if you want to be my friend on Facebook, I'm Jonathan Williams.
And Keith.
You can find me at DeCandido.net. It's DeCandido there, DeCandido.net. If you go to that website, you will think, oh my God, this website hasn't been updated since 1996, which is almost true. It's in the process of being upgraded to a real website as opposed to a crappy link dump that looks like a GeoCities page. Having said that, it does provide links to all my social media presence. So my blog, my Facebook page, my Twitter feed, my Instagram, and links to my articles on Tor.com, which I've been writing for regularly for 9 years. And there's links to my most recent books. Coming out is a collaborative science fiction novel called To Hell and Regroup with David Sherman, and a thriller with Munish K. Batra, MD, called Animal, which is about a serial killer who targets people who hunt animals. It's like Dexter if PETA created it. And then I'm working on the next books in my Precinct series of police procedurals and my urban fantasy featuring Brom Gold. Those should both be out in 2021.
Cool.
Very cool, y'all. So I'm sure we're doing panels with you guys again at some point over the rest of the weekend. Thank
tomorrow.
You guys. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us for a little while. We will go and try to find something else that's happening at Dragon Con. Virtually, I think there are probably 83 other things that are happening right now. So we're trying to recreate the live action version of Dragon Con. So in that spirit, let's all go buy hamburgers that cost $7.
And wait half an hour before you walk into your bedroom.
I'm just going to the con suite.
Yeah.
So, to recreate the con suite, I've got old cheese curls right here.
You need moon pies.
Yes.
Well, you need a fountain machine because they do have the drink fountain machine.
That's true. And I did find a Dr. Pepper, but it is empty. So
and stale tortilla chips.
Yes.
But guys, thank you very, very much. We are doing this again a bazillion more times this weekend. Thank you again from the American Sci-Fi Classics track and Dragon Con, and we will see you very soon. Woo!